Hey guys, glad to have you back. I am out getting in some flying while the weather is super beautiful. I got a great spot here for you. Already squeezed in one pack and I have new equipment to test out for you. That's right, today I am rocking this guy. It is the Insta360 One RS. I got the 360 cam module on there now. I also have the 4K module. I don't have the 1-inch sensor, although I do want to test that. And right now I'm using it as my chest cam. I think I'm gonna really like having the ability for my chest cam to grab some B-roll, grab some flight line shenanigans when it's going on, and I'm even gonna throw it on the drone today and see how it performs as a flight camera. Stick around and let's go check it out. Now, one of the coolest parts about the Insta360 One RS is that it is a modular camera design. Now, what do I mean by that? This camera breaks apart into 3 pieces. There's a little release button right here on the front. It's currently set up to be a 360 cam. If I slide this button right here, it'll come apart into 3 pieces. First, I take the battery off. This is your battery, interchangeable. I have a spare somewhere. And then we have the module that has our processor and all the smarts in it. And then we have our sensor. And currently I had the 360 cam on, using it for a stick camera, but I'm gonna swap it out and put on the 4K boost module. Now this one we're gonna use to get some HD flight footage. Pop it on like so, throw on our battery, and once again we have an action cam, and that is going to slide right in to this guy. And we're ready to go fly. Before I go fly, I just want to let you guys know I'm not going to go crazy with this camera. This camera was provided to me by Insta360 for review. Now, they've got no say over what I say here. I am going to give you my true, honest opinion. They don't get to preview this video before I release it. This is exactly what I think. And honestly, I'm intrigued by this camera, let's say. But I don't have any insurance on it. So if I explode it, that's it. It's gone. It's over with. And at this point, I already like it too much as a 360 camera to put it in a ton of harm's way. So I'm not gonna be flying like an idiot out here. I'm gonna do some freestyle. I'm gonna fly around the trees, but I'm not gonna get too crazy and too technical. I really just wanna see how this camera performs as a flight camera. Now, I am recording it in the log colors so that I can color grade it afterwards, because anytime that I fly and make a video, I'm gonna color grade it, okay? I am also flying it with the stabilization turned on to post. That way I can show you guys what the footage looks like unstabilized, stabilized with, what do they call it? Flowstate Stabilization in camera, and also stabilized with gyro flow after the fact. It's one of the new supported cameras in gyro flow, so I'm gonna throw it in there and see how it does in all 3 scenarios, and let you guys decide how exactly you would be using it. Without talking your ear off anymore, let's go fly this thing. Future Stingy coming at you with some updates. So I've recorded a bunch of flights with the Insta360 as the stick cam and as the flight cam in 360 mode and the 4K, and I've got some thoughts on the workflow with Insta360 cameras. Now, the main flights that I recorded with the Insta360 One RS with the 4K module, I was recording in 16:9, 30 frames per second, because that's usually what I record in for my flights. Now, I also enabled the stabilization as post, meaning that after the flight, I can go in and I can apply Flowstate Stabilization, I can turn off stabilization, I can run gyro flow on it. And the interesting thing about that is if you enable it to be a post-stabilized flight, it will actually output the video in a 4:3 format. What this does to you is it requires you to go in and add steps before you're able to make a video. I find that I don't have as much time to work on these videos as I did at one point in time, and these days I really prioritize a smooth workflow. What is going to get me from doing my flights to having a video ready to upload to YouTube the fastest? And with the Insta360 One RS, I'm going to have to go to the Insta360 software, run it through to export in the field of view setting that I want, the stabilization setting that I want, or the color options. Now I could let the One RS handle some of this, but as I'll show you right now, some of the stabilization, I'm just picky on my stabilization. There are certain things that look off to me. It's not like with the GoPro and with gyro flow and real steady, you get a more smoothed out version of what you did. Every other camera I've done, whether this Insta360 One RS, the Insta360 Go, or the DJI Action 2, all of them, when they apply their stabilization, I'm just never that happy with it. There's always like little wonky things and I'm like, that's not what I did, or that just looks a little bit odd. And so I've got stabilized version of this with Flowstate, as you see here. I also have stabilized with gyro flow, which I think is much smoother. And you can see with the unstabilized, you also have the option, if you're like the no stabilization crew for FPV freestyle, that is still an option for you here. Now, when it comes to color grading, the colors out of the Insta360 One RS are superb. I did not have any trouble getting a color grade that matched the other cameras that I was using that day. I'm really happy with the way that the colors came out. While we're on the subject of workflows, let's talk about using the 360 cam for a stick cam. Now, I thought I was gonna love this because I would have the option of zooming out from the stick cam and showing other people. So if I want to get a reaction shot to the crowd when I like dive a crazy gap or something, I would have that. And yes, you do have that. However, it adds a ton of work to the workflow. If you have a 360 cam video, you need to select what it is that you want to focus on after the fact. Now, the Insta360 software does a great job at this. When I'm using that camera for family stuff, running around, filming myself skateboarding, filming the kids around the yard, I drag over the person, I select it, I track it, I do some keyframing, and it works amazing. Now, when I went in to do the stick cam, I assumed that it was going to be just as easy, but there's really two options. Number one, I can select the controller and have it track the controller, which I tried that, but the camera moves around a lot, and so I would have to do a lot more work in post-editing, like masking out the rest of the scene around the controller. So the option that I ended up going with was doing keyframing. Anytime that I would turn my body slightly, the camera would end up being off at an angle. Now, I tried locking the direction, which helped a little bit, but it still didn't like solve all of the problems that I was seeing. So I ended up having to go in and keyframe, and you could see all the keyframes that I had to use in this video. So in order to use the stick cam footage, you essentially have to go and watch the entire length of your stick cam footage in order to select the proper keyframes and then export it. It's a really tedious process. I do not see myself using the 360 cam version as a stick cam going forward. I am going to keep using the 4K because you can just turn off stabilization, and if you have a 4K unstabilized image, it's really easy to just mask out everything. Look, I'll show you right here. This is me doing it on the DJI Action 2 footage that I have from the same day. You just draw a line around it and you're done. You might have to move it a couple of keyframes in a whole clip, but I usually, if I have to do that at all, it's like one time for a clip of like 2 minutes versus like every 10 seconds having to do a new keyframe with the Insta360 One RS. I love the concept of using the 360 cam for this, but the reality of it is just not functional for me. I also did a little bit of flying with the camera as a 360 cam. While it makes some really cool shots from time to time, I still think that this is more of a novelty or a B cam where you put it on a pole on a bigger rig and get a film of the drone itself. It just doesn't seem like the sort of thing that I'm going to be doing very often. Maybe if I had one of those Invisidrones where you have the camera mount inside of the drone and you can't see any of the drone, that could be pretty interesting. But for just a regular FPV freestyle rig, it's not something I see myself using. Now, what am I going to use this camera for going forward? I'm going to be using it as my stick cam because that frees up both of my DJI Action 2s to be flight cameras, and those things are just robust as all get out. I've yet to destroy one. I love the the camera itself. I love the 360 cam. I'm gonna be using it for stuff with the family. When we go on like a hiking trip or something, or go ride bicycles, I'm gonna like rig it up to something and make some videos of that. I love this camera as an action cam and as like a family cam. It's just not the best for me for putting on a drone. The biggest reason that it's not for me for putting on a drone is I don't have insurance on it. If I had an insurance plan on it, I might be more willing to fly it, but still it's a lot heavier than the Action 2. Now I know the Action 2's image quality isn't that great. It annoys me sometimes, but the fact that I've had two of those for what seems like almost a year now. Has it been a year? No, it's been like 9 months, but still, I've had those two cameras for a long time, and I still have yet to destroy one. You know, it continues to impress me in terms of its robustness. Now that we've got all of those opinions out of the way, and I've told you how I feel about this camera, I just want to go back. I've got some more fun flying. I've got a crazy, ridiculous dive that I pulled off, so you don't want to miss that. Check out the rest of this flight. All right, that is gonna do it for today. Security came by and let us know that our session is over, but I got what I needed. I think that I'm gonna really like the Insta360 One RS for family shots, for being an awesome action camera and a 360 cam. I don't know that it's gonna be my flight camera. I may use it on occasion for some stabilized stuff because I don't have to have black box recordings. The workflow is a lot easier in Gyro flow. In fact, I could even use Flowstate and probably get something usable. Assuming that there's no weird stabilization like, you know, artifacts or anything like that. It's a solid camera. I don't think that it's a basher. It's not for the type of freestyle that I like to do where I just explode everywhere like I did today. But it is a high quality action camera and I really like it for what it is. And I'm gonna keep using it for exactly that. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. I hope you had fun coming and flying with me. Just huge shout out. I wanna make a big thank you to my wife. None of this would be possible without her. She takes care of the kids and gives me the opportunity to come out here and film, to sit on the computer for hours on end editing these videos for you guys. So if you see her in the comments, she goes by Camilla D. Give her a like, let her know that you appreciate her letting me come out and play with you guys. So until next time, have a good one.
battery last.